This is a public service announcement for any Printify print-on-demand sellers that have been selling the District Photo 15-ounce white mug. Printify has shared a change in their catalog with this product, and there is a conversion process coming later in 2024. So I want to talk about this early in 2024 to make sure that you don't get put in an unfortunate position later this year. All right, so this change is actually a good thing. They are finally moving the 15-ounce white mug from District Photo into the same catalog listing as the 11-ounce white mug, so that when you create new listings, you can actually publish both options at the same time without having to create them separately in your Printify account. And they've already done that. You can do that for any of your new mug listings. But for all of your existing listings, any of the 15-ounce white mug listings that you have created in your Printify account, whether you were publishing them as a standalone listing in your Etsy shop or just creating them as a draft so that you could include them as a variation in your listings, you're going to have to make a change before the end of 2024. That's because Printify is not migrating these things for us. They're actually just discontinuing the catalog listing for the separate 15-ounce white mug at the end of 2024. So that means those listings will no longer sync with your Printify account if you don't do something yourself. You also have options for what to do. There isn't just one way to do this. So let's walk through what to do in either scenario prior to the end of this year so you're not caught off guard and suddenly have a bunch of orders that don't sync to your account anymore. Real quick, before we jump in here, here's the email that I received from Printify a while back, just to show you I did in fact get this notification. In case you didn't, here is where they're telling us that they are combining the 15-ounce size with the 11-ounce size from District Photo, and at the end of 2024, they're going to remove the previous 15-ounce listing from the catalog, and that we need to move our designs to that new variant. Now, they specifically say using the replace function, and we are going to talk about that. That is one of the ways that you can do this. However, it really depends on how you currently have your mugs listed. All right, so let's talk about the different ways that you might want to go about updating your existing listings. So the first scenario that is easy and simple and actually does use the replace feature that they mentioned in their email would be if you have listings published in your shop that are only the 15-ounce mug, meaning you publish them as a separate listing and you want to keep them as a separate listing. So here's an example of that. This 15-ounce Frenchie Mom mug, this is one of my dog designs here. I have a listing published in my Etsy shop that is only the 15-ounce size. So here's that listing in my Etsy shop. It's only this one size. It's just the 15-ounce size. It is in a listing by itself. Now, if I want to keep it that way and just have this stay by itself, totally separate from the 11-ounce size, then I can just use the replace feature. So to do that, what we would do is we'd come to our My Products page. We'd find the listing that we're going to work on here. We're going to click on the three-dot menu and select replace. That's going to pop up this window, and we need to give it a second to load here, where it's going to load the print providers that have the equivalent products available. And we will see District Photo listed here with both the 11-ounce and 15-ounce size options. So here we can select and continue. And what this is going to do is take us into the design editor view, where now we want to make sure that we have this set up the way that we want. It's going to default to showing us the 11-ounce size. So remember, this first version of how to do this is just based on replacing the 15-ounce because we published that and we want to keep it separate. So if this menu on the right hasn't shown up, click on the top right where you see that little pencil and ruler icon, and then click on where it says select variants. And you want to make sure you select the 15-ounce variant. And again, if you want to keep the 15-ounce options separate, you can uncheck the 11-ounce size. All right, now we need to take a look at the design layers here and make sure that the placement and the sizing is accurate for the print areas, and of course go about using the preview view the same way we would if we were publishing a new listing. We want to make sure that it's still going to look good. When you're done with that, click on Save Product, and then this is going to take us to the listing editor page where we can scroll through, and it should carry forward everything that you had, your title, your description. You do need to make sure you select the appropriate shipping profile. So go ahead and select your existing shipping profile. You're going to want to edit your price because it did not carry your price forward from your old listing doing the replace. So I'm going to put my price for the 15-ounce size in here. Now down at the bottom here, you can choose not to resync the product title or the description or even the mockups if you don't want to, because technically none of them should be different. It's the same print provider, so even though we edited the mockups, technically we don't have to republish them as long as they look the same, as long as the placement and sizing didn't get changed at all, which it shouldn't have because this is the same product technically from the same print provider. You do need to leave colors, sizes, prices, and SKUs selected. And that one's important because it's the SKU number that we need to republish to Etsy because that has now changed. Once we do that, we can click on publish and it's going to give us a little pop-up reminder where you can click confirm. And now that's going to republish this listing to our Etsy shop with that new information. And as I mentioned, the most important part of that is it's going to update the SKU number in the listing so that now our orders are going to sync, and this is on the new variant in the catalog, so I won't have any issues after the end of this year. Okay, so that was the simple process. If your 15-ounce mug size was separate from any other mug sizes or listings in your shop and you wanted to keep it that way, very simple, just use the replace feature and republish it. Unfortunately, you will have to do that individually for all of your 15-ounce mug sizes because the select all or select multiple option here does not give you the replace feature as one of your bulk editing options. So this is one of the reasons why I'm making this video this early in 2024 because it's going to take a while if you have a lot of mug listings using that old 15-ounce size. It's going to take a while to convert them over. If you published the 11-ounce size and you never published the 15-ounce size, but now you want to. Well, let's look at an example of that. If we look at this golden retriever mom mug, I currently only have this published in my Etsy shop as the 11-ounce size. If we come over to the listing for that in my Etsy shop, here it is. And if we scroll down to my variants, we'll see I just have one option in here. If you want to now add the 15-ounce size, there's good news. This one is even easier because you don't actually need to use the replace feature because what Printify did is they added the 15-ounce size as a variant into the existing 11-ounce catalog listing. So that means we don't need to use replace. We can simply click on the paintbrush icon here where it says edit design. I can click on that. Now in the right menu here under variants, I can do select variants and you will now see the 15-ounce size to select here. Now what I want to do is make sure on the right menu here, I have selected the 15-ounce size and then click the blue box option where it says make a specific design for 15-ounce. Because what I want to do is make an adjustment to the design size and placement, but I don't want that to affect my 11-ounce size. And it looks to me like I can make my design quite a bit bigger here on the 15-ounce size. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Check my preview. And it looks like I'm all set now. I'm going to click on Save Product. And now this process is going to be the same. I don't need to touch my title. I might need to update my description if I didn't mention the 15-ounce size in it before. Something like this here, I actually already had it in there, so it was wrong previously. So I don't need to add this, but you might want to. For shipping profile, it should actually reflect the current one since we published it with that originally. So I don't need to change it in this case. As long as you see the correct one here, you don't need to change it. You will, however, need to make sure you've got the correct price for that new variant that you just added to this listing. So go ahead and put your retail price for the 15-ounce size in there. Now, again, at the bottom, we want to pay attention to what we're publishing here. We don't need to change the shipping profile. I don't need to change the title. If you change the description, make sure you republish that. I do now have mockups for the 15-ounce size, so I am going to allow that to republish. And again, we definitely want to republish the colors, sizes, prices, and SKUs because we've added the 15-ounce size. So I'm going to go ahead and click publish on that one and confirm. And now this listing on Etsy will have the 15-ounce size and the 11-ounce size. Now, because we republished the mockups, you are going to want to make sure you go over to the Etsy listing after this is done updating and make sure that your thumbnail image is still the way you want it to be. You might need to change that around and make sure that you've got it centered and sized appropriately. But it should not change anything else with your Etsy listing. Your tag should still be there. It's still good to double check. Okay, so those are the two simple scenarios. If you have existing separate 15-ounce listings, you can use replace to update them. And if you only have 11-ounce, but now you want to add 15-ounce, you can use the edit listing feature and republish those with the 15-ounce size added. But now what happens if you have a little bit more of a complex scenario, which is unfortunately the situation that applies to me? What I have previously done in my Etsy shop is I have published my listing using the 11-ounce size, and then I have created a draft listing for the 15-ounce size and left that unpublished on Printify. An example of that would be this mug here, Can't More Worry Less, this one here. If we take a look in that listing, I currently have added a variation for both 11-ounce and 15-ounce, and I've got the SKU numbers in here so that the orders will sync with Printify and go through my order automatic submission that I've set up. But over on Printify, you can see I've got a separate 15-ounce listing here, and then the one that I actually published the listing with is down here. There it is, Can't More Worry Less. That's the 11-ounce size. And I have those separate here because I created them prior to when they were both available in one catalog option. So now if this is the way you've created your mug listings, what can you do? Well, you do not need to actually replace this listing with your separate 15-ounce size. Unfortunately, there's no way to just merge that listing into your 11-ounce mug listing or vice versa. We're not going to need this separate 15-ounce listing for this mug after the end of 2024 because this is the one that's going to become obsolete and get removed from the Printify catalog. So all I really need in this case is a new SKU number to put in here so that my orders will continue to sync after December 31st of 2024. So to get that updated SKU number, all I have to do is exactly the process that I just mentioned. I will actually no longer need all of these separate listings that I have for 15-ounce mugs in my Printify account because now they will be grouped together with the 11-ounce size for each design. So I do the exact same process we just walked through. For each of my 11-ounce mug listings, I would come into the Edit Design option, and then I would do Select Variants, add the 15-ounce size, make sure that I set a specific design for the 15-ounce size, resize my design so that it works well on the 15-ounce size, get both sides set up if you have your design on both sides. In this case, I'm not really worried about the mockups because I was already selling this in a 15-ounce size and the mockups in theory should not change at all. So I'm not really worried about this. I can click on Save Product here. Now, one difference here is that I already have this 15-ounce size as a variant in my listing, and I actually don't need to change anything else about this listing. I just need a new SKU number, which now I have. If I scroll down to my variation section here, I now have a SKU number for my 15-ounce size. I can click on copy. I can come over to my Etsy listing. I can paste that new SKU number in here and I can click publish changes. And that's it. That's all I really need to update my existing listing. So in this case, I actually don't need to republish the entire listing or any of this information from Printify. I can just click on Save as Draft. And I can already hear the questions coming in. The answer is no, it does not matter that this is now showing as unpublished changes. That does not make a difference as far as your orders syncing to your Printify account. I have hundreds of products in my Printify accounts for my different Etsy shops that are not published to Etsy, but my orders still come through just fine because the SKU number matches with a product in my account. So if you use this method, you do not have to republish the whole listing from Printify to Etsy. As long as you copy over that SKU number that you need, that's the only thing that you actually need to update. Once I've gotten that 15-ounce size added into the 11-ounce listing and I've got that new SKU number for this one, I can actually go ahead and select this one. Because remember, I deleted this SKU number, the one I have checked off here. I deleted this SKU number from Etsy, so I'm never going to get another order for this product again. I can actually just go ahead and delete that. In this way, my product listings on Printify aren't cluttered and I won't get confused. And that one was going to become invalid at the end of this year anyway, so I don't need it. So again, even though that was simple and straightforward and it didn't take me long to make that update, if I have, hundreds of mug listings, that is going to take a while to update. So if you take your time throughout the rest of this year and kind of pace yourself and do, a couple of these a day, a handful of them a week, you should be able to get through it by the end of this year and then you're good to go moving forward. So what happens if you don't do anything and you don't update your listings before the end of this year? Well, here's the thing. I don't actually know. There's one of two things that could happen. Starting on January 1st of 2025, once Printify removes that old 15-ounce listing from their catalog, one of two things could happen. If a customer places an order for one of those products, the order could come into your regular Printify orders page and just show as out of stock. This is what happens today when you get an order for a product variant that is out of stock and there's no print provider that has it. The order still comes into your regular Printify orders page, but it will just sit there and not be submitted to production, even if you have automatic order submission turned on, because the product is out of stock and not available. That might happen to these listings starting in 2025. Printify's sort of system might still recognize it and drop the order here, in which case you could edit each order manually as it comes in. Now, the other thing that might happen starting next year is orders for that product might come to the other orders tab instead of your regular Printify orders tab, because that is what happens when Printify detects an order coming from your connected Etsy shop that does not contain any Printify products. In which case, again, the answer here is to manually fulfill the order. You can add the 15-ounce size to that product listing in your catalog, and then manually import the order and select that 15-ounce size that you've created. So the issue here is I don't know which of these is going to happen. I have sent a message to Printify and I waited a little bit, but unfortunately I haven't heard back yet. I will pin a comment under this video once I hear back from Printify with the answer that they provide. But for me, I am going to try and be proactive and get the 15-ounce size updated in all of my existing active listings so that I don't have to worry about that in 2025. So hopefully that was helpful. Let me know down in the comments if you have any questions, and good luck getting this all updated before the end of 2024. Hopefully this doesn't take too much time away from creating new listings for you. Thanks everybody. See you next time.